Good morning. Welcome to 1 Million Cups. So I'm Melissa Roberts. I'm one of the volunteer organizers here, and we've got all of our other volunteer organizing team here too. We want to say good morning. Thank you for coming out. This is a very special day at 1 Million Cups because my parents are here. Just kidding. Also, because it's our special education themed day. So we're going to do what we always do, but with a little bit of an edit. So if this is your first time at 1 Million Cups, please raise your hand. Awesome. Welcome. Thank you for being here. And if you are a teacher, will you please raise your hand? Awesome. Thank you guys for coming out. We really appreciate it. So for all of you teachers and people interested in education, there's going to be another session after 1 Million Cups is over in Kaufman Labs. You'll hear more about that later. But thank you for coming and joining us and innovating. So 1 Million Cups is a weekly educational program here at the Kaufman Foundation. We bring you the stories of 2 local entrepreneurs. They tell us about their entrepreneurial journey, and we take 20 minutes to brainstorm during a Q&A session to help them improve their business and solve some problems and give them resources. So we also have one other special group here that I wanted to recognize, and I know I'm going to mess it up, but it's the Northeast Entrepreneurship Academy. Yes. Northeast Kansas Entrepreneurship Academy. Got it. So please welcome them. So we've got teachers and students today. And so we know there's a lot of new people on the stage. They've been here for a couple of weeks. But we wanted to give everyone a chance to introduce themselves and tell you a little bit about what they do and why they're here.
Hello, everyone. My name's Lance Windhals, and my day job outside of 1 Million Cups, I work with a couple software companies named Black Ops Development. I run a liquor store, which is what most people are more interested in. And then I'm also working on a startup company and hope to present here in a couple months. So.
My name is Milton Jeffrey. Also working with Black Ops Development, a software development company. Also a consultant. I have my own business doing marketing in web development as well.
Good morning. My name is Courtney Chapman, and I work for Proof. I am the CFO of a brand positioning company, so I know a little bit about branding, marketing, advertising, and I also have a past experience in mergers and acquisitions. So if anybody has any questions about buying, growing, or selling a business, come see me.
Hello, I'm Brian Zorski, and I'm in the custom consumer product manufacturing field, as well as run a small boutique web design business. Thank you.
Cool. So we've got a great team. We've got a lot of support from the Kaufman Foundation and all the staff here that helps us put together a great program every week. And so now that everyone's kind of trickled in the back, without further ado, we want to introduce our first presenter. Linda from Minddrive is here to tell us about the amazing car that we have in the parking lot today. So.
Good morning. Did everyone get a chance to see the car McGee out front? Great. Well, I have a question for you today. I wanted to ask everyone in the room if you have a person in your life who's made a profound impact on you, either by what they've told you, what they've taught you, or by being an example for you. Anybody? Yeah, I'd say more than half the room. Okay, so now imagine this room is full of high school students and no one raised their hand. Think about how many high school students don't have a role model in their life yet. Minddrive is a for-purpose organization that uses volunteer mentors to help carry out their mission. Ooh, I forgot my clicker. Our mission is 3-pronged. It's to inspire at-risk high school students to learn or to want to learn, to engage in their education, to expand their vision of the future, and we do that in a number of ways, which I'll get into in a little bit, but one of them is through working with volunteer mentors from all different walks of life. And the third is to help them create a pathway toward a sustainable life for themselves and their families. Mentors play an important role at Minddrive, and they play multiple roles. They work with our students side by side on a project in collaboration. They work with them on problem solving and teamwork. They talk about life with them. They give them advice, but most of all, they give them encouragement and help build their self-esteem. Often our mentors are that one person in life that makes a difference for a child. Every student is unique. Not everyone has issues going on in their life, but the mentors are there to support them in any way that they have. And with an organization like Minddrive, one thing that's different about us is that we have the ability to really hone in on each student and figure out what their unique circumstances are and try to address those. We have on-site social workers that offer counseling. If a student is slipping through the cracks because of some issue that's going on at home or for whatever reason, we can offer them tutoring sessions to get their grade points up. We have 2 primary learning tracks that take place on Saturday mornings. From 9 o'clock until 1 o'clock, we meet at 2615 Holmes. One is Automotive Design Studio, and the other is Contemporary Communications. We also have some evening classes that we just launched this year, and we're hoping to expand next year. They are in welding, 3D CAD. We have a lighting design class, which we also call our Innovation Incubator, and video production and editing. Our contemporary communication class teaches the students writing skills, public speaking, photography, video editing, blogging, social media. Basically, these students act as if they were a marketing agency for the Automotive Design Studio. The Automotive Design Studio started off with this first car. Isn't that awesome looking? In 2011, they built this prototype car, which is an ultra-efficient Indy race car chassis. And the students designed and built this plastic body. And we got to take it down to Texas to Bridgestone's Proving Grounds, and it achieved over 445 miles per gallon equivalent for an electric car at 25 miles per hour, and over 330 miles per gallon equivalent at 45 miles per hour. It was really astonishing, and it was kind of on fire. The news release that Bridgestone put out that day went viral across the world, and it hit 300 links within 24 hours. Next year, we found an old Lotus Esprit, and the students totally restored it and converted it to being electric. And we thought, wow, how can we outdo what we did last year? You know, let's take it and drive it across the country. No one's ever driven an electric car all the way across the country. So these kids took their Lotus Esprit from San Diego, California, all the way through the desert to Jacksonville, Florida in 12 days, 2,400 miles. And all along the way, every time the car needed to charge, the students made a presentation. So they made 40 presentations over a 2-week time. The next year, last year, they converted a 1967 Karmann Ghia. And we, again, we always have the question, what can we do that's better than last year? What can we do that really shows these students that they can do more than they think they can do? And this year we decided to take a trip to Washington, D.C. We had a lot of support from our local politicians, and we were represented by Representative Emanuel Cleaver. He invited us to the Capitol, and he got a lot of legislators there to meet the students and to see the project. The students were able to hold a congressional briefing on the Hill. It was a standing room only room, and they got to share their story there. So that's a picture of it at the Capitol. Actually, it was kind of interesting because Congressman Cleaver had to go to the Capitol for a vote, and we just decided to give him a ride up there because you can't drive on that unless you're an electric car. So it was a great photo op. So that brings us to this year, and this year we converted 4 Karmann Ghias, and we decided to take them to California, the northern coast of California, to share an environmental message of the work that they've been doing on producing these alternative fueled cars, and to offer our students an opportunity to see what's offered up in Northern California in terms of innovation and technology. And so on this trip, we were able to visit, these are the five cars now that we've converted. We were able to go to places like Google and Tesla and Twitter. We went to Stanford University. We went to Humboldt State University. We got to see the Monterey Bay Aquarium. We got to spend some time in Tech Shop in San Francisco. They just had tremendous experience this year. And that's kind of going back to our mission statement of expanding their vision of the future. Getting the students out of the city. Most of our students really never leave the inner city, and it's a great opportunity to get them not only out of their neighborhoods, show them how people live in different parts of the country, but also give them the opportunity to be proud of their projects and their accomplishments and to share their story around the country. So we just got back. Last week was our trip, and I'm so excited. I wanted to know if you guys want to see a little video I brought for you today. Okay, it's just 2 minutes long, and what we do is we do a video every day. We're very into, the communications class is very into social media, so we're constantly sharing the stories, and so we tried to produce a video and upload it every day so people back home in Kansas City and our supporters all around the country could follow our trip and see what the students were up to. So there's the video.
Well, we started out this morning with a presentation at the Point Arena High School. We had an opportunity to meet with all kinds of students in STEM programming and in automotive technology programming. And our students had an opportunity to share our program with their students.
It's great to be able to see something that we've all built, and just to see it running is just like something out of this world.
We had Sam and Tasia, and both of them had an opportunity to describe their experiences with Minddrive, both from an automotive perspective and from the communications class perspective.
What we do, we're like the voice of the automotive class. Like we vlog, we take pictures of everything they do.
What do you guys think of the car?
I think it's cool. Yeah, it sounds like you guys got a pretty sweet program going.
And we went to San Francisco from there. We had a chance to drive across the Golden Gate Bridge for the first time with the students. And then we headed into the Presidio, where the Presidio Trust hosted activities with other high school students. We had a campfire, and we had a cookout with other high school students in San Francisco.
So thank you. I just have to share one anecdote that came from this trip. We have one student who said to me one night, she's like, Linda, I live in the urban core of Kansas City, and I didn't ever realize how much I was missing out on by being in nature. So that was really cool. I know my time's up.
Thank you, Linda. So what we'd like to do now is open it up for Q&A and allow the audience to ask some questions. We've got a couple people moving through the crowd with mics. If you see one of them, just raise your hand, and they'll bring a mic over to you. So to kick things off, Linda, you mentioned that when you're able to get these students or these kids out of the inner city and take them to different places, what type of response or reaction do you normally get from them and their families?
Well, they are ignited. Their imaginations are definitely inspired. Their families are very supportive. These kids, we see time after time, if they're not engaged, they get engaged. If they're struggling with their grades go up, their attendance goes up. They start to become leaders in their school. They start to wear their Minddrive shirts to school. Other people start to look at them as leaders. It's a really great thing to watch.
And how do you differentiate yourself from like a boys club or girls club or any of those organizations, a big brother or big sister type organization?
Ooh, that's a good question. Well, we definitely have a start and a stop time. We're a 32-week program. We create projects that we can work on with the students in collaboration, hands-on. Our format is that we spend about 45 minutes in classroom teaching them a scientific principle about ratios, for example. And then we spend 3 hours out in the shop trying to decide what size of motor we need based on the weight of the car that we have. And so it's very much a learning experience based on their education. It's based off STEM, and the experience of the mentors working with the students on a project that has a finish, I think is one thing that's different.
Question in the middle.
Great story. I applaud your social giving. What's your funding model?
Our funding model, we have great support from national corporate sponsors and local corporate sponsors, local foundations, and individual donors.
Oh, we have another one in the middle.
This you mentioned that you've seen a number of positive impacts on your students initially when they're participating in these projects. Do you have any plans to collect information, or do you know what they've done as they move on, like with future education or future career choices?
Yeah, that's a really great question, and something that we've really engaged in a lot more this year. We've always been able to track the students because first year there were just 7, and the next year there was 28, and the next year there was 38. And so we've been able to track them, and we know if they're in college, if they're at a university, or if they're working, and we keep in touch with them. But this year, we started a new program for our measurable outcomes that really identifies at the beginning of the year, what is it that's distracting these students from being successful at school? What are their issues at home, or what's going on in their neighborhood, or what's going on in their personal lives that are distractors, and what motivates them? And then over the course of the year, we do questionnaires with them. We work with them on individual interviews. And at the end of the year, we ask them the same questions. And hopefully what we're looking for is that we've eliminated or helped them cope better with their distractors, and we've increased the number of motivators that they have for school.
Question here in the middle.
So I know you only have 6 minutes, so I'm going to ask you a question that I hope enables you to tell another story. Could you tell the story about the young man who exhausted all of his high school options and ended up helping you out with your computer supply, your organization?
That's one of my favorite stories. Yes, we have a student who was struggling in school, not because he wasn't smart, but because he had a lot of responsibilities at home. Both of his parents worked, there were younger kids at home, and his parents didn't put a lot of emphasis on education, and so they made the decision to keep him home to take care of the little kids. And so he had a 33% attendance rate, and the school decided to kick him out of school at the middle of his sophomore year. And a lot of people thought that he was at home playing video games and just goofing off. But what he was really doing was learning how to build computers. And he's brilliant at it. And so he was in the Minddrive program, and my partner, Steve Reese, who's here today, he kept Andrew in the program, even though he'd been kicked out of school. And he started to learn. Andrew had this other language that he was speaking. And so when it came time for us to look for the technology that we needed to start our CAD program, Andrew said, I can build those computers for you. And so he went online. He researched what it took to get Autodesk's Inventor on a computer, what the capacity was necessary to have, and he bought all the parts online. He had them shipped in. He put them on 6 different tables, and then he brought 5 students in, and together he tutored them, mentored them, and taught those students how to build 6 computers, and they still are running our CAD program today. So he's an awesome success story, and we call him now our IT director. So he's still with Minddrive 5 years later.
Got a question far left.
How are your students selected for your programs?
Oh, thank you for asking that. We have an application process. We work with the schools. We have 16 urban schools that we're working with now, and we're hoping to expand into Wyandotte County next year. But we begin with the guidance counselors, and we ask them to help us identify students that they feel are just kind of at that fork in the road, or just need something like this to get them engaged, that they see potential in. And then our application is a 5-page essay in which we're trying to find out as much about that student and that student's circumstances as we can. And then if we have more applications than we have spots for, which is usually the case, we interview their parents as well. It's really, really important for us to get the parents on board with this demographic of student, We have to make sure that they agree that they will get their child to Minddrive every Saturday for 32 weeks, and that they understand what the program is about and are in consent. And then we also work really closely with the schools. One of the things that that helps by working with the guidance counselors, and the schools, by the way, pay a small tuition to have their students participate in the Minddrive program. And that way we have open access to their attendance, their grades. Anytime I can call a counselor and say what's going on with the student, and we can work together to either get their grades up or to address issues that they're having.
A question here in the back.
Hi, Linda. It sounds like your program Minddrive is at the intersection of automotive technology, mentoring inner city school kids, and education. How did you get there? And this, Kansas City is not Detroit. How did you get to automotive?
Well, I wish my partner would answer that question, but Minddrive started as a class for one urban school, De La Salle Center, before it was a charter school. And my partner, Steve Reese, who is a retired architect, was teaching that class, and it was called Entrepreneurial Studies. Let's see, what was it called? Creative Studio and Entrepreneurial Studies. It's a long name, I always forget. And anyway, he would explore with the students, what it meant to build something. So they would break things down and figure out how they were built and build them back up. Steve also happens to be a car guy. He used to race vintage cars, and he's always had a lot of cars to work on since he was in high school, so it's a passion of his. And so even at De La Salle, they would always do a car project as part of the year. And they would start with small models and make clay models and do collaboration on what would make the most aerodynamic car based on shape. Then they went to a half-scale car, and the kids kept saying, why can't we work on a real car? Why can't we work on a real car? And after about the 100th time of Steve hearing that, he realized maybe it was time for him to look for a real car. And that's when he found the Lola, the Indy car that I showed you first with the transparent skin. And they began to work on a real car. So that's kind of how it evolved, actually, from being a class at one school into a nonprofit organization that serves 16 schools. It was mostly driven by the students, driven by space needs, and driven by the need to get mentors involved, and that means having it on Saturday. So it was a perfect opportunity for us to create a nonprofit.
Question here to the left.
Is there high school credit associated with this program?
That is determined school by school. Currently, there's only one school that offers a half credit.
Question in the middle.
And how are you measuring your success? Is it graduation rates? Is it GED attainment? I mean, how are you going to measure your success?
We measure our success by watching what happens with the students. Our graduation rate is 100%, and it has been from the beginning. We're really, really proud of that statistic. We aren't really concerned about if our students go to college or if they go to a tech school or if they go right into the workforce. What we want is for them to get impassioned about something. We want them to find what they're passionate about and to pursue a higher outcome.
Question here to the left.
Linda, great concept. You mentioned a little bit about your funding model. Can you share roughly what it costs per student for that 32 weeks? How much it takes for you guys to run it per student, per head count?
That's a tough one. I can tell you that we operate on an annual budget of about $350,000. Last year we had 46 students, so I don't know what the math is on that.
Question on your left.
So have you thought about making this into a business? I just watched an interview of Elon Musk last night, and he's making a lot of money making electric cars.
Yes, he is, isn't he? Actually, the cars that you saw in front of the Nelson Atkins Museum, the 5 Karmann Ghias that have been converted, we do plan to sell them or auction them. And then our hope is to use the proceeds of the sale of those cars to start a scholarship fund for our students.
Question here in the middle.
Linda, I was wondering, you mentioned corporate partnerships. What kind of partnerships do you currently have in place?
Well, we have great support. We've had from the beginning support, not only financial support, but also mentoring and in-kind donations from Bridgestone Americas. They teach our students about tire technology and how tires can make your car more efficient. And they also donate a lot of tires to us, and they support us financially. We got support from Hertz. They have a global sustainable mobility program, and so they always give us our support vehicles on our trip. And we have great support from the American Society of Mechanical Engineers. They really believe in the experiential hands-on model in terms of creating jobs. And we have support locally from Kansas City Power and Light. We kind of fire off on all three of their community outreach initiatives, which is urban youth, the environment, and innovation. And then lastly, I think our other biggest corporate sponsor is the automotive group, what is it called? The Automotive Dealers Association of Greater Kansas City. They've been supportive from the very beginning as well, and we're always a part of the Kansas City Auto Show because of them.
Question here on your right.
You said that you're going to have a scholarship fund. Is that focused primarily on college tuition, or would it also include money as seed money for entrepreneurial students who come out of your program? Let them do startups?
That's a really good idea.
Venture capital for that, rather than,
yeah.
Because I'm thrilled that your success isn't defined by who goes to college. So having a scholarship just for the ones that go to college might send a mixed message that here's extra money for those of you who take that step, but maybe here's extra money for those of you who follow your passion.
That's a really good point. And I mean, seriously, we are just currently at that point where we have this opportunity to create that fund. And so it's not all figured out yet, but I think that's a really good idea.
In the middle.
Just interested in how you select your mentors, and are they paid or is it volunteer, and do they work with them on into their adult life to make sure they stay on track and keep succeeding?
Well, our mentors select us, really. I mean, it's been interesting. I think Steve recruited some people at the very beginning that he knew were engaged in restoration of cars that he had experience with. But from there, it's been word of mouth. And mentors have been the cornerstone of Minddrive. And so we're constantly recruiting new mentors. And also because not everyone can give 32 Saturdays in a row. We find our sweet spot tends to be with those that are retired or those that don't have small kids at home, because there's a lot of Saturday activities with kids. But that doesn't necessarily prevent anyone from being a mentor. Anyone can be a mentor. It's really about spending time, showing up, giving encouragement, and being a positive voice in a student's life. So we don't really recruit, but it has been word of mouth.
Question here to the left.
Were the professionals involved in a way that was specific to that area? Like, were the mechanical engineers involved when this didn't? I mean, it seems like you learn when things don't work, and then you go find the way to make the new one work by doing it. But how did you handle that relative to the industrial design part of it, or the inside guts, or the computer integration? How did you? It's a wonderful goal and project, but how did you even structure doing it?
It's an interesting question, because we do have, you know, a structure, a curriculum, I should say, where we offer the mentors an opportunity to teach that part of the class. So we have electrical engineers, they teach about the battery system in the car. They do that class. We have mechanical engineers, they may talk about the shape of the car and the force of the power and things like that. So we've got mentors. Just to give you an example, we have mentors who are mechanical engineers, electrical engineers, welders, metal fabricators, restoration specialists. In my class, the communication class, we've got web developers, photographers, video editors, teachers. So it's really just about all walks of life getting involved and sharing their expertise. We've got some people that don't know anything about cars, and they're learning as we go too. But they're learning to problem solve and to work through the problems with the students together. And that's what's really powerful. They become like family that way. They become a team.
Linda, one final question before we let you go, and that is, what can we do as a community to help you in your business?
So glad you asked. So I just said we don't recruit mentors, but here's an opportunity for us to recruit mentors. Our program just ended. We'll be starting up again. We'll start recruiting students probably in August, and we hope to launch our new program in September. If you are someone who has been dying to get involved with the youth in your community, give us a call, shoot me an email. These are some of the things that we need, but we also need administrative help. We need people to serve on committees. We do events during the course of the year. We'd love business expertise. I mean, really, I think anyone in this room could help Minddrive in some way.
Thank you, Linda. Let's give Linda a big round of applause. All right, we've got a lot going on here today in the announcements. We've got just a few. Venture Lounge is coming up June 19th. Just a reminder, it'll be from 4 to 6 p.m. And we definitely want to thank our sponsor, Google Fiber, who's providing the location and the refreshments. You can register online. Athena League also, June 19th, coming up tomorrow from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. We'll have Angela Hurt, the founder and CEO of Veracity Consulting, and Kate Nielsen, founder of OnTap, and both women will be sharing their experiences and challenges. You can also find more information online for that as well. Startup Grind, June 25th from 6 to 9 p.m. Startup Grind will host Toby Rush from iVerify. You can find more information for that online as well. And if you think your startup has a powerful brand, Startup Branding is launching the first annual KC Startup Brand Year competition for 2014. You can enter to win cash prize, promotional videos. The deadline is July 18th, and you can find more information at startupbranding.com. 1 Billion Bits, June 18th. We'll have Dr. Stephen Wolfram giving his take on how software approaches are evolving and his work with Wolfram Language. You can also find more information online. One final announcement. For all of the teachers that are here that are pre-K to 12th grade, if you're interested in attending the teacher session in the Kaufman Labs afterward, we'd like you to gather in the front lobby on this side of the building here for the main entrance. And once we've got a critical mass there, Jen will actually lead everyone in. We'd like to kick that off at 10:15 sharp, please. And so our next presenter, as we'll have coming up, is Paul Richardson from the Kansas City Wordshop. Let's give a warm welcome to Paul.
Good morning. I hope you all slept well last night. I didn't. I found out about 1 Million Cups about a week and a half ago. And then on Friday, I submitted a request. And on Monday, I got a phone call and asked if I would present. And I said, sure. So here I am. It's pretty cool. I didn't know Minddrive was going to be here either. I've been meaning to talk to them. And I feel like we're doing what we're up to eventually is the same mission for the language arts, this other side of the brain that they're up to with sort of the STEM side. Linda had a great quote about, so I think somebody asked, what do we do with, about high school credit and that sort of thing. And it's like, well, get them to find a passion and all that stuff's going to come together. And we operate in that realm as well. So 6 minutes, I'll move on. I'm a language arts teacher at Washington High School. I've been there since 2005. I took about a year hiatus 5 years ago, and I met a hitchhiker and decided that I didn't want to be a hitchhiker. And so I came back, and when I came back, I decided that I wanted to participate, and I wanted to participate authentically in culture. not under conventional sort of standards, but really participate. And I was lucky to get my old job back and begin pursuing that. We like to write. Kids like to write. We like to write things on balloons and let them go. We like to write about our bad habits and set them on fire. That was supposed to be an animated GIF file, and it didn't do the thing. But we literally take them outside and set things on fire. I like to make iMovies. Two ones that I've been pretty consistently doing is a This I Believe project at the end of a school year, and this project called Now Me, New Me, which relates to the fire thing you just saw. And we love to write poetry. Lots and lots and lots of poetry. This is a shot from Louder Than a Bomb, Kansas City. We, in our first year, it was a spoken word festival that's originated up in Chicago. We brought it to Kansas City, and we sold out a 500-seat theater our first year for the finals. The four teams that were in the finals was Paseo Academy, Lincoln Prep, Shawnee Mission North, and Shawnee Mission Northwest. And at the end of the show, they were all gathered on stage, hugging each other, swapping phone numbers, and they went out to eat at Winstead's afterwards. It really brought community together, and will continue to do so. So here's some facts, okay? Kids want to write stories. Kids need space and time to write stories. Kids don't want to write argumentative essays defending themselves from hypothetical afflictions suffered by a hypothetical draconian school board, all right? This is, if you go and search writing prompts for writing assessments anywhere online, it has something to do with some crazy school board that's going to do something to you and you have to argue against it. It's been happening forever. I'm giving credit to my classroom, 2005 through next May, as the space of my research. So the kids do want to write. This is Willie and Phil. Together they're known as Duo. I had them as sophomores. They graduated this year. They are A students. They were on our Louder Than a Bomb poetry team. They wrote and recorded 3 albums and even more short sort of EPs, smaller albums, since 10th grade on their own time. And they're great students, and I noticed during their sophomore year they were walking around with laptops. They wanted a quiet space to record audio tracks and work on beats, and they were doing this on their own. They wanted to do it. They want to write and share stories. So poetry and film and theater, however it is, whatever it is, they do want to do it. There's no doubt about that. And there's this other side of this thing. I wanted to mention all the teams that participated. So Washington, Belton, these were the 13 teams. We had 16 teams originally. 3 of them got cold feet. We're going for 40 next year. So if you want to be a part of Louder Than a Bomb, let me know. So LTAB finals sold out the 500-seat gym theater, so that indicated to me that people want to hear stories. People want to share stories. Groups of people need to hear stories. I started making this distinction between facts and truth, okay? And so facts are this area of data and research and agreement between people of a certain system of discourse. And we largely guide policy by facts, and understandably so. I get that. So here's a fact. 2 of every 3 females living in poverty are sexually abused before age 18. When your brain makes sense of this, it's astonishing, and we don't like that, obviously, okay? Now, here's a truth. Tania Bolton's poem about her uncle, and I wouldn't share that with you in this company, but I've heard it from her several times, and it's a truth that's very uncomfortable to hear. It alters your perception of the way you see that individual, and it changes them forever, okay? You stick with the facts, and you kind of just stereotype. You kind of just say, oh, that's the way it is with that group of people, and that's sad. But then you have Tania on the stage in front of you, and it alters your perception. Another fact, half the households in areas of poverty are without a father. Here's the truth. Josh telling the story of the night cops found his dad in the trunk of a burned car. This is one kid's story of why he doesn't have a father. completely changes that. It alters your perception of Josh and what really goes on in that area. We need to share stories. I don't love this statement because it's a blanket statement, but in the context of this, I think you see where I'm coming from. Facts perpetuate stereotypes. Truths nullify stereotypes. So, when you get to know somebody as an individual telling their story on stage, they become an individual and not part of a collection. And so I'm ready to tell stories. We're ready to tell stories. I kept being prompted to talk about problems and solutions with what the KC Wordshop is going to be up to. We simply want to do that. Much like Louder Than a Bomb, we want to put on a film festival every year. We want to put on a theater festival every year. We want to publish annually or biannually student work. We want to continue holding a poetry slam. We want a music festival. And we want as many ways and spaces as possible to tell our stories, tell our kids' stories. I have a vision for that it's going to alter the course of not only Kansas City, but all metropolitan areas. It's a large thing. And so I guess the problem, if this is for teachers, this is for everybody that's sitting in here, is there suffering in an institution, among a group of people, in a person? If that is the problem, you can answer that question, and therein lies a problem. The solution is trust that you are certain you are correct in having perceived that there is suffering, and be responsive to it at all costs. Be willing to die for it. That's what we're up to. The cadre of teachers that I'm working with, we believe in this. We believe that stories alter community entirely, and we'll raise a generation of kids who know each other better, quite simply. I think I should save that. I'll save that for the next one. I want to open it up for questions. How did I do? I went way over 6 minutes, I think.
Paul, you did a great job.
Thank you.
So what we'd like to do right now, again, is just open it up for Q&A, some questions and answers. We certainly encourage the audience to participate. If you've got a question, just wave your hand. We've got folks moving with microphones. I see a question in the back there.
Yep, got one right here.
So I work with Connecting for Good, and we have, I'm right here. I'm right here.
Oh, hi.
Sorry. We have a new community tech center right across from Juniper Gardens in KCK, and we've been looking for a way to provide our students an opportunity to tell their stories living in a low-income housing facility. Do you ever collaborate with nonprofit organizations in the work you do?
We haven't yet. This initiated as the Washington Wordshop, and we cleared out our industrial art space, and we tried to do operate this same vision while also doing our full-time job as English teachers, and so we're just now branching out. No, we haven't, but we're ready to. So yeah.
Got a question here in the back.
Yeah.
Actually, it's more of a statement. My name's Stephen Fuller. I'd like to connect with you today or at some point about getting the Kansas City Film Commission and Cinema KC involved in telling those stories you were talking about. This is something that we think is very, very important in the local film community, and we would love to have your stories told during the STARS program or anything else. Get those kids making some films about the stories that they have here in Kansas City.
Thank you, Stephen.
Question in the middle.
First off, congratulations. You got a science teacher thinking about writing, so you're doing something right. How much conversation have you had across content areas with other teachers who I'm sitting here right now thinking about writing that's significantly different from language arts focused writing, and yet there are a lot of things that I'm already thinking about changing in my classroom. Have you had that conversation with other content teachers?
Yeah, we absolutely have. We've had writing workshops in our Washington Wordshop that are across the content, and what I'm mostly excited to tell you about is somebody from Garmin contacted me and asked if we would do technical writing workshops at our KC Wordshop, and we absolutely. This is we're mostly going to operate in this creative realm, this storytelling realm, but this is writing across all curriculum, all genres, and absolutely, man, that's part of this. Mm-hmm.
Another question here in the middle.
I was looking at your write-up, and it said, broadcast any project generated by the written word. How about the spoken word?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, so the spoken word also it probably starts with being written down. And so I probably should just take the word written out of there and just say word.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I was thinking, anything that begins with words, like, so a film is going to begin with a conversation and a script and some writing. But yeah, I hear that.
The reason I bring that up is that a lot of people can talk and they can't write.
Got it, okay.
And some people can write down what other people can talk.
I hear what you're saying. Got it, yeah. Thank you for that.
Question here in the middle.
Good morning.
Hi.
To what extent are your students involved in the creation of the events?
A lot. So we one thing that will happen in our daily operations is we have a classroom teacher bring her class to the Washington Wordshop. This is how we've done it previously, and we have an apprenticeship group of juniors and seniors who work with the younger ones, and so essentially we try to step back as much as possible. With the KC Wordshop, we would like to set up an apprenticeship sort of program with older writers working with younger writers, more established writers working with younger writers, and also a database of college student volunteers who are going to school to be teachers or whatever. And so the adults in the situation can kind of step back and watch this thing happen organically. So very much so. It's important to us. Yeah.
Another question here in the middle.
Hi, love the idea.
Thank you.
Are you guys, it sounds like you're solely based on volunteer manpower. Is there any money flowing through this? And if so, where is it coming from? Are you getting paid?
No. No. I've sort of been like, I'm keeping this a secret from my students right now, but hopefully none of them are in the crowd. I don't think they are. I'm going to work one more year as a teacher and then do this full time afterwards while we're building this program. So yeah, and that's next. So yeah.
Got a question here in the back?
Yeah.
Have you looked at 826 Valencia as a model?
They've been everywhere. We went to actually Dave Eggers' film Once Upon a School, his TED Talk Once Upon a School was was one of the first things that said that's what we need. A colleague and I, Cameron Bond, went to their symposium last year. I think it was 2012 actually. Very much inspired. But the Wordshop is a model taken from 826's, and yeah, so great recognition there. Appreciate that.
Can you share a little bit more about the day-to-day operations?
Yeah, so in the mornings, how I see it playing out is an elementary school, middle school, or high school teacher will bring in their entire class. Actually, we'll go pick them up. We want a fleet of vans that we can go pick them up, bring them back, give the teacher kind of a day off, go grab some coffee and hang out in the back and let us have your class for 3 hours. And there will be a very well orchestrated writing project that they get to leave. They'll leave with some kind of product, or maybe it's a series. Maybe they're writing a play and it takes place over a semester and they come back once a month. And so the mornings are these well orchestrated 3-to-1 student to teacher ratio, heavy-handed, sort of like somebody's over your shoulder all the time helping you do work on your project. And then we always want to leave with something. The connotation of shop, we want there to be a craft. And so we'll send them back after lunch, and then after school in the afternoon and into the evening, we want to be open as a community center. We're going to be located at 2010 Baltimore in the Crossroads District, and so hopefully right off a streetcar and really hopefully off of a light rail system where kids from Wyandotte County can actually leave Wyandotte County and come to see things. And everywhere else. This is about community. So we'll be open as a community center for the kids to come in and use film and music production software, use the chill kind of library space to come in and read, use the stage to practice spoken word, whatever. And ultimately these projects that they'll be working on in the community will feed into the big, loud events like Louder Than a Bomb or the film festival or the theater festival. And so these kids are gathering in one space, collaborating all year around with an excitement building up until spring and summertime when we host these big festivals. So, yeah.
Got a question here in the middle.
Sorry, I got another one for you.
Great.
So, how do you see this scaling? Where are you in 5 years? Are you in other cities or every student in KC? What are you doing?
Yeah. Every student in KC, metro-wide, Lawrence, Topeka, however. We see that there's a need for the community aspect of it, and so we leave no one out. And I mean, I get really big about it, and I think I saw a statistic: 75% of the world's population will be living in metropolitan areas in 2050, and that means metropolitan areas are going to be roughly the same as they look now. I would like to see something like this in every metropolitan area around the country, so that we can be swapping stories and raise a generation of storytellers and collaborators.
Got a question here in the back?
Yeah.
This is a testimonial to what you're doing and how good it probably is. We created a website 3 years ago, and it's an authoring system. It prompts people to write stories, and during that time, we've received almost 1,000 stories from all over the world. And starting out, it was mainly adults, and more were getting stories from kids. And they love it because it's free, for one thing, and it gives them an opportunity to write and not have anybody to critique what they write.
What's it called?
It's called I'm a Story, and it's a web-based program on Google. If you key that in, it'll pop up. It's real easy to use, and I've probably made 50 presentations dealing with story writing, and people love this program.
That's awesome. I'll probably use it in class this year. That's really cool. Thank you.
We got another one over here.
Okay.
I'm married to a teacher, so what do you say to the overworked coach teacher who already has so much passion, and this sounds like an amazing program, but he already works 18, 25 hours in a day? It sounds like you provide a lot of support, but have you seen barriers with convincing them to let you come into the classroom?
Yeah, I mean, that's such we live in that area, I mean, that's what teachers do, and I get a lot of resistance for the way that I teach, I think. I don't look at the Common Core standards all too often. So I don't know. That's easy for me to do, especially when I've set my mind on working only one more year, because I can just be like, all right, you're done, man. But I don't think you should apologize for anything. If you believe in it. I don't think if it's this very thing. Let it. At all costs, if he wants to be about it, I was a lead organizer for this Louder Than a Bomb, and I was gone all the time. I was emailing, taking phone calls for a year and a half straight. And I didn't get paid for. I actually put money into it, and sometimes you just get in the zone and you have to do it. But if he's I hear it. I don't know. Just tell him, just do it, make it happen. Apologize later.
Got a question here in the back.
Paul, did I hear you say 2012 Baltimore?
2010 Baltimore.
2010.
Yeah, I think we're actually trying to make it 2010B. It's like.
How much space do you have in there?
It's roughly it's around 2,500 square feet of industrial space. An artist was living there, and it needs a little work, but yeah. Thank you.
Paul, you mentioned facts versus truth.
Yeah.
Would you be willing to share another truth from maybe one of the lives of your students?
Yeah. We just watched some. I watched some Louder Than a Bomb poetry. Yesterday with a group of people, and this kid Sam from Sam from, I think he was from Shawnee Mission Northwest, a real talented poet. They were at the finals, and Sam had a very eloquent poem about the relief of cutting himself, and so that's a truth, and those are, you know, and he's telling it before a crowd of 500 people, but the fact behind that would be something, you know, that this statistic or this knowledge of there being a thing called cutting just doesn't cut as deep.
Got another question for you here in the middle.
Good morning. I just want to commend you. I am Team ELA in social studies as well, and so I know the things that we do to get our students in the spaces that we do. This is a kind of a question statement. I'm working on a program for young women wanting to use personal narrative and taking the personal narratives to create a theater production of some type through a mentoring kind of foundation, and would really like to talk with you about this sometime after we get finished. And just want to encourage you, you know, our kids need to be able to express themselves in so many ways, and as a person who, that was my first area of expression, and having come across a loss, I went right back to journaling in the last week, and so I just want to commend you for giving them that platform to be able to do so.
Right on, thank you. Hey, there's a guy, Nathan Lewis Jackson, who's doing a residency here with the KC Rep. Just put on a. Do you know who I'm talking about? Yeah, right on. And so he graduated from Washington, and he wants to. He's going to be here for the next 2 years doing this kind of stuff. So we should definitely talk and arrange that. Thank you.
Question on your right.
Paul, I want to honor your work. Thank you for what you're doing. My question would be, it sounds like this whole arena is less about events and less about publication and more about the understanding of one's story. How are you or your group bringing unlike communities together? That is, how do I get someone that looks like me to one of your events to embrace someone who doesn't look like me?
Yeah. I mean, you saw the schools. Barstow was there, all the way out to Washington, you know, and that's the whole point. We have to. Like, there isn't an alternative to that. If we can't exclude anything, and so at all costs we have to promote that. And I don't even think there needs to be an effort to make that palatable. You know, like if you care about it, if you care about community, if you care about your words, you're going to want people to hear them. Louder Than a Bomb, all 13 teams, you know, that whole month of March through preliminary and semifinals, it was very, very colorful. You know, like it was everybody from Olathe to Washington, Barstow, everywhere. And so it's a mission. It's part of it. We have to. Yeah. And if you have any suggestions on how to get a guy that looks like you there, then let me know. I'm listening. Yeah.
We'll take one more question up here before we wrap up, Paul.
First of all, I want to really applaud you for your commitment to kids and your passion for what you're doing. I've been a teacher and coach for 36 years, and I really have an easy job. I'm near Topeka in a rural community, and we don't have any of the issues that you have, and I know that because my older brother teaches in Wyandotte District in Kansas City, and we compare stories, kind of like you're talking about. And I've told him many times, I mean, I'm overpaid and don't make much, but I work a 12-hour day job, but he works 12 hours. I mean, he gets there at 6, and he doesn't leave till 6 or 7 most days, and a lot of it is tutoring and mentoring kids and just trying to keep them in school. And the things that you're doing, I just applaud you, and I applaud my brother because he's been doing it for years, and I don't know if I could do it. And I want to commend you for your efforts. Thank you.
I appreciate that, man. And, you know, things are tough all over. I think that's a quote from The Outsiders, actually. But now that it was out. But, you know, everybody's got their stuff, man. But I appreciate that, really, yeah.
So, Paul, before we let you go, we always like to ask one final question, and that is, as a community, what can we do to help you in your business?
Yeah, I think it's pretty clear, but if you don't mind, I'll be kind of specific. So on August 1st at 2010 Baltimore, that's a first Friday, by the way, a great night to come out and be a part of. We're just calling it an introduction. The space will be painted, I think the way we planned it, completely white as a blank slate. And some things that we need before then, or that I could think of, were food and drink, paint, PA system. A digital representation of the envisioned space was something we came up with. I need business cards, web hosting, and electrical work. We do have domain names reserved, and we just haven't hosted them yet. And it needs some electrical work. English teachers, we don't do well with documents and red tape and stuff like that. Like I tend to circumvent them, but you can't do it with nonprofit organizations. So I would need that help eventually if you know anything about that. And then our ribbon cutting sort of date that I have tentatively planned is next July 2015, when we'll really be off the ground and working. Film and music production equipment and software, a sound booth so a kid can be secluded and lay down a vocal track of some kind. A stage, we also want a kind of a soundproof reading contemplation room if they just want to chill and think. Vans and buses for more than 30 people. We'll need a security system. The restroom is kind of dingy in the place, so we could use a remodel. And then architects and construction. So that's where we're at right now, what we're looking at as a board. So.
Thank you, Paul. Let's give Paul and Linda both a round of applause. As we wrap this up, we also want to thank all of you for coming out and participating today with 1 Million Cups. We're here every Wednesday morning. We ask that you just share the word and continue to invite other entrepreneurs, teachers, anyone you know. A couple of quick announcements. Minddrive also has cars out in the parking lot that they would love for you to stop by and take a look at. Again, thanks everyone. We hope to see you next week. You're dismissed.